But we're going to start with Carolina, Dave, and taking a look. Look, we were going through this with the last set of teams. Like almost every team we were talking about needed a new head coach, and it continues. Carolina still hasn't decided what to do with the head coach yet. Steve Wilkes, I don't know if he's even a possibility anymore. But this is a big one for Scott Fitterer because he has to get this right. And if you take a look so far, the cap space situation isn't very good. So they still have to, and it hasn't been good. So they're kind of trying to work their way back into getting their books right again. So it's a process. But we all know the main part of this offseason for Carolina, like last season, is finding a quarterback. They've got to figure out what to do with the quarterback position. And I understand kind of what they did a little bit last year, give Baker a chance, and they still had Sam Darnold, and they invested in Darnold. And Darnold, did a pretty decent job at the end of the season, almost got the team to the playoffs. He's a free agent, so it'll be interesting to see exactly what they do there. But do they go out and get themselves one of these Derek Carr quarterbacks, or do they use up their 9th pick in the draft, their first pick in the NFL draft on a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, if they are going to use this pick on a quarterback, they're probably going to have to be aggressive with the trade up. And that's one thing Carolina has not done a good job of, is making a trade offer that's good enough. Right, they've been leapfrogged. They were leapfrogged by the Rams for Matthew Stafford. The Panthers went after him, and Rams outbid them. They ended up with Teddy Bridgewater, and then they tried to trade for Deshaun Watson. That did not work. If you remember back, they almost had him, and then Cleveland came out of nowhere and gave the deal of a lifetime that the NFL is still pissed off about in terms of the other owners and coaches and general managers. And they tried to trade for Russell Wilson, and that didn't work. So they ended up with Baker Mayfield. So the Panthers, when I see all these year after year attempted trades, but they just did not cough up enough, leadership will have to see if they do want to get in line for Carr. They will have to be more aggressive than they were in the past. If they want to trade up.
What would you do? I mean, honestly, I got to tell you right now, I'd rather still try to develop Sam Darnold than trade for Derek Carr. That's just me personally. I mean, if I'm going to get Derek Carr for nothing, that's different. But I have to trade for Derek Carr? I mean, Carolina has so many needs. Right. And we just talked about it. They don't have a good salary cap situation. So I don't see that as making a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and economics are a part of this too, right? The gap between Darnold and Carr it exists, right? I mean, I'm taking Carr over Darnold any day, but when you throw in the money, it's a harder decision to make. And, if you look back to the 2020 draft, they were at 7, okay? Washington had the 2nd pick. That was the year that the Washington had the 2nd pick. Carolina State put it 7, and Herbert went 6, Tua went 5, right? That was the 2020 draft, I believe, all right? Or the 2021 draft. And this is just going to be the same exact position. You're sitting at 9. If you want Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, maybe even Levis, you're going to have to do what they didn't do years ago. You're going to have to make the ultra-aggressive trade to get up in front of other teams that want the quarterback. If they're not willing to do that, whether they're not convicted by the rookie quarterback class, they're going to have to trade for Derek Carr. That's if they want to compete next year. My issue with trading for Carr is the ceiling is very limited. They already, as you said, they already have financial issues. They're paying a lot of guys on defense. And the defense, to be honest with you, is a little underwhelming considering the amount of talent they have. So can you get away with a trade for a Derek Carr by trading one of your defenders? That's something I would look into. Whether it's Brian Birds, Shaq Thompson, Derek Brown, can you get Derek Carr for one of them? That offsets some of the money. But then here's the question. We keep coming back to this. What's the ceiling now? Is it the same ceiling that you get with Sam Darnold, but you're not committing that much money?
I mean, if you look at it, at least when they're looking, and you could put Shaq Thompson, because you look at Thompson, Burns, and Brown all have 1 year left on their contract.
Right.
And so again, Carolina's going to have to decide. Maybe this is the perfect time to decide. Probably can't sign all these guys. So which one of these guys are we going to let go well, maybe this is the guy that we put into a draft proposal.
Right. Yes, and I think that's where this is going to lead to. And the
But Derek
division.
Brown, by the way, I think is the one best option because
Yes.
Thompson and Burns both have pretty big dead numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Brown is on his rookie deal, so he's got nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but do you want to trade Derek Brown? I mean, he's
right.
Or even Burns. I mean, those two guys are like building blocks if you're trying to really build something. They're still young.
Yeah. I mean, just talking about this is making my head hurt. Carolina's in a really tough spot.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. They're in this like no man's land.
That's why I think they're just better off just draft and no trades, unless you want to trade up in the draft. But no trades for quarterbacks that are going to cost you stuff. Again, unless you know you're not going to be able to sign one of these guys, and then maybe you could get away with the dead cap somehow. So I don't know.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and unfortunately, the timing doesn't work out. The division is down, and I think this is a trap that the owner is going to kind of get sucked into. The rest of the division is pretty bad right now. The door is open for someone to make a big move. Carolina has tried to make, and the owner there, he's a big move kind of guy. In my opinion, the decision maker in terms of what they pay in a price for a trade, they simply were not aggressive enough. And if I'm reading the tea leaves right from the owner, I think this is going to be the offseason where they really go for it with a big trade. And, I think you swing for the fence here, or you do what you said. Stay put, see what's there in the draft. If you have to play Darnold for another year, you play Darnold for another year. I don't think it's going to kind of be what they've done in the past, where they trade for a second-level quarterback, a third-level quarterback. I think we're seeing a big move, or Darnold's going to be playing there next year.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be one that is going to take the entire offseason before we even figure out what to expect come draft time.
Right.
And we'll see how it works. I mean, Rashad Beard, who does a great job covering Carolina on the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube, has been on our channel as a guest several times, and we're going to have him back for sure, as we will have back many other analysts that we're talking about for some of these specific teams, because these guys know their teams, and so just keep that in mind. We'll be bringing on really good analysts for their respective teams that know a little bit more than we do what's going on, because they've been following them, year round. But yeah, this Carolina one, there's still a lot of work to do, and the quarterback position is at the top. By the way, speaking of defense, besides Burns, they haven't had a lot of luck with other edge rushers. I mean, Gross Matos, Haynes, they're not getting anything except Burns. That's it. So they got to get some more edge rushers, and in the secondary as well. I mean, I'm not sure what happened to Jeremy Chin this year. Maybe they're moving him around too much. I don't know. But besides J.C. Horn, and they got to get him healthy, besides Horn, they really don't have anything else that excites you in the secondary except Chin and Horn. So they've got to do something in that secondary as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. No, there's when you're making the top three needs for this team, I was like, all right, well, I have six, and there's just, that's what I mean. This is a situation where I think you could see the bottom fall out pretty quickly unless they make that big move at quarterback and he turns around the franchise by himself.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough situation. And like you said, the first thing that needs to get figured out is who's going to be the coach, right? Is it a lame duck type coach, some coordinator that no one's ever heard of, or do you get a big name in there at some point?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the coaching candidates for the Colts. Like I was going over the Jeff Saturday deal, and I was looking at some of the guys that they've interviewed, and I'm like, I guess Saturday might just be okay to me after looking at that list of guys that you were interviewing. I mean, that's bad.
Yeah, it's a rough list out right out there right now, and I think everyone's waiting to see where Sean Payton goes anyway. I think he's going to dictate everything, and then I think the rest of the pieces fall into place.